So basically, we spray painted these like different squares or whatever, and then the first day I wheat pasted posters. I had a bunch of these already. I use these as backgrounds for all different kinds of stuff. I basically did the different squares, and then these are different stencils I brought the next day, and basically taped them up, sprayed them, and then I basically hand painted each one of these.
That's what I was wondering, because when I saw the wheat paste, I felt it, and then these are the stencil parts right here.
Correct, yeah.
Cool. SKAM. That's your name?
Street art name, yeah. It's been a name I've had since 2005.
When did you start doing street art?
Well, living in a small town and having access to the internet, there wasn't much of an art community in the Midwest. It was just like what I call dentist art, which is like ducks and geese and like things you'd see inside of a dentist's office.
Yeah.
And so I started connecting with artists originally on MySpace, and then it moved to Flickr, and then it moved to like Instagram, and it's kind of just stayed there. But I'd say the best relationships that I developed as an artist and the best social media like platform that I ever used was Flickr, but Instagram killed it and stuff. But at the time, MySpace, you could connect with other artists. So I started making stickers and sending them out all over the world, and people would send them to me because nobody's putting up stickers in North Dakota.
Right.
And then that just kind of progressed, and more. I started a project about people I thought were people were heroes, and then people were scams. I spelled it with a K, and nobody cared about my heroes. Everybody cared about the scams. They wanted to know about the bad people and the things I had to say about those people that I felt were, bad for society.
Right. How long have you been in Portland?
Portland, I've been here. I moved here in 2008. I helped establish Portland's street art scene. There's only a couple of us actively doing stuff in Portland at the time. I think a total of, there was me, Mr. Say, and Nasty Nate. There was only maybe 3 or 4 of us. Now there's probably 50 or 60 active artists, but the scene's not like how it used to be at all. I feel like it peaked because originally everyone was just kind of doing their own styles and learning how to silk screen or stencil or to hand draw their posters or stickers or whatever. And now it's just kind of everyone gets the same stuff printed by the same guy, so it all looks the same. Before, you could look at a street sign and see all these crazy different styles, and they'd really stick out. But now it's just kind of looks like a muddied mess, and things don't really stick out as much anymore. Only certain artists actually do, because they're doing different stuff than everyone else who's kind of just going from the same pool.
So you think it's more conformed in terms of?
Yes, 100%. The scene out here in Portland, I feel, is so toxic. Yeah, I experienced this thing with my friends out here in Portland. Living out here for 17 years, a bunch of my friends have moved away. And they've experienced this kind of toxic mentality that people have kind of enabled in this city. It's in all major big cities, but I feel here in Portland it's more prevalent. And it's just kind of it's affected the street art scene, the graffiti scene, the quilting scene, the DJ scene, the punk scene, the metal scene, the skate scene. I mean, you just every single scene, all I hear about is this person did this and they're toxic, and people are using these psychology terms they don't really understand and everything. Everyone is self-diagnosing themselves as autistic here.
Yeah.
And it's just everyone is acting like they're not conforming to a certain way, but they actually are. Anyone who's on the outside of those circles or is asking questions kind of gets rejected now from those people.
Wow.
So I'm trying to be a beacon for the rabble rousers. I don't want to be popular, okay? Like, I don't want to be like in a way ever as an artist where I'm like mass produced, like Obey or something like that. I'd rather stay pure to my ideals and my underground sensibilities and things like that, which I feel is very kind of like a DIY type thing. It's just a part of my like personality and my belief system and everything like that. So
In terms of toxicity, is it like an ideology or like a mentality, or
it's just all these people who are just gets offended by words, like the dumbest things. Like, you know, like a comedian, you know, makes a joke or something like that, and it's like, to them, it's kind of like this like moral ladder that doesn't really exist. I feel like these people, a lot of these people in Portland now act like they're morally better than other people. And like, I want to be different, and I am not morally better than anyone but my former self. These people want to draw lines in the sand, okay? Just like the right does and the left or whatever. I want to erase lines. So like, but people don't like people who like talk like this. You know, so it's okay, you know, like people try to cancel me all the time. In my years of doing this, I've had all different kinds of like crazy situations, like sending my art off to Iran and this guy getting his place raided by the Iranian CIA. And normally they would fucking kill you. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear or not.
you go ahead.
They'd fucking kill you, but they didn't. They just came and took his art, and he had to flee the country because of it.
Jesus.
I've had like weirdo stalkers. I had this guy, like this Nazi, stalking me from like 2011 still. I've had people show up to my like studio with guns, like, you know, like I've also caught people on the streets like dissing my art and everything. Just happened a couple nights ago. I just caught some people fucking with my shit. So like, but people don't like that kind of behavior. Like people out here like don't understand, like when you're a part of a culture that can't call the police, you have to basically police yourselves.
Yeah.
All right, you have to police your own communities, kind of. And it's funny who tries to play cop and who doesn't. It's like people get offended about stupid shit out here, okay? Like the dumbest shit possible. Like, oh, you didn't share this one thing on the internet or something. That means you're racist. Like this kind of weird platitudes that in the real world, like people don't think like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if they do, they're fucking lame as fuck. So like, I feel like this is what's gonna happen in 10 years from now. People are gonna make fun of like cancel culture. They're gonna be like, you're a fucking nerd, you know what I mean? Like, because like people have used it as a weapon now to like destroy people's lives who don't actually really deserve it. Like, you know, like, okay, you're an asshole, but like, does your whole life deserve, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't really hurt anyone, you're just kind of a jerk to people.
Right.
Just, you know, should your whole life be in shambles because of that? No, I don't think so.
And is that sort of the evolution that you've seen Portland take over the past 17 years?
Oh yeah, big time out here. And as a political artist, it's like people have these expectations that you need to do this. Like as soon as Joe Biden jumped out of the race, people are like, where's the Kamala scam? And it's just like, dude, fucking give me a moment to breathe. Like, you know, like, yeah, she's not great either. And, you know, I've done Trump, and like people think because I did Joe Biden, I'm a Trump supporter. And it's like, no, I think they're all terrible. And, you know, we're all like, doesn't matter which path we're on right now, it all leads to genocide. You know what I'm saying? Like our money's going to kill innocent people and everything. And there's nothing we can do about it, to be honest. I really like what's happening, what's changing right now, like with all these people bitching and complaining about it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
No, besides like tearing other people apart, you know, because people are like, oh, you hate Jews or you're a Zionist or blah, blah, blah. It just becomes this whole fucking mess. And I actually haven't made a single comment about the Gaza stuff. Like people have been asking me to do like political art for it. And I just don't even want to touch it because it's such a muddy ass mess in the first place. And I'm like an atheist and I hate both of them. Like, I'm like fundamentally both are fucked.
Yeah.
So, you know, but Portland's definitely changed. It used to be more close knit. And I feel like the beginning of it was, I feel like the major change started with the Trump presidency out here, and people, I feel like it radicalized people. And by 2020, when the pandemic happened, that's when we had all the protests here. We got all these people to move here who are literally the most, like, the worst, most annoying fucking people on the entire planet. Yeah, you got autism, I get it.
Right.
So, like, there's this thing about autistic people who are like, when it comes to like rules and laws, if they don't fundamentally agree with it, they just discard it.
Right.
And they're the most terrible people to have a political conversation with, because they like literally just try to beat you down in the head instead of like working together like most of the planet does to solve problems with somebody you don't agree with.
Right.
You know, so
Wow.
I feel like that's like a big thing out here. Portlandia made it popular for a long time for all the like weirdo, mentally ill people, including myself, to like move out here and stuff like that. But a lot of them never got help along the way. You know what I mean? Or never found their way, the right way anyways.
Was your art always political?
Yeah, I mean, I was a part of the first Iraq war protests. Hillary Clinton was actually my first scam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, actually I was, and she was the first like political person that I chose. And then I did Bush, and I did Rudy Giuliani, and like, so I chose both sides. I did Joe Biden way back in the day too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like 2005 or 6 or something like that. So I've been like doing this for a while.
Yeah.
Going after both sides, like, because I feel like they're fundamentally both evil. There's this thing called the horseshoe theory. It's like basically this political theory that our political spectrum is like a horseshoe. Where does the horseshoe almost touch? Its far extremities, which would be like communism and fascists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like both sides of it, and like any kind of extremism is bad. All right.
Yeah.
Like just kind of like I've seen that kind of like behavior and mentality kind of like be worshipped and flourished out here, and it's just, to me, it's kind of fucking disgusting. And I feel like Portland's kind of not the right place for me anymore. Like, I'm not really sure. I think probably a bigger city that's a lot more mature, because I feel like some of these ideas these people have here are really immature, not very well thought out. I've been a political activist for like over 20 years, you know what I mean? So like I helped try to get Ron Paul basically elected when he was running way back, I think it was like 2004 or something like that. I was like going door to door, knocking on people's door, trying to get people to vote for him, because I wanted him to win, because he wanted to pull us out of the war in Iraq and stuff. And I voted for Joe Biden actually too. And I have really conflicted feelings about it, you know. At the time, I just felt like Trump was not getting us out of the pandemic. Especially here in Portland, we were the last major city to lift up any kind of like mask regulations, social distancing, all that kind of stuff. We were the last major city in the United States to stop doing it. I feel like it traumatized a lot of people too. Like being from North Dakota, I would spend winters where I'd be inside all winter long for like 9 months, you know, whatever. So it wasn't that bad. So the pandemic to me was like, I can go outside. Oh, okay, this ain't too bad, you know. But I feel like a lot of other people can't handle that. You know, I grew up with that and everything. And I feel like that isolation really fucked with people's heads. And like my day job, like what I do for a living and everything, like I deal with situations with couples breaking up and all these other crazy things, trying to kill each other and stuff. So I saw crazy amounts of like domestic violence and all this other kind of stuff. So it affected relationships, even my own personal relationship that I had at the time. COVID just fucked up. And I feel like Portland hasn't recovered from COVID. And like I have a lot of friends who come here from other places, and they totally agree with me. They're like, dude, this city hasn't recovered from COVID yet. They're like, it's kind of like COVID's still here or whatever. So that's the consensus I've heard from other people visiting here to give their perspective, you know.
That's really interesting because I mean, like, I feel like not a lot of people have spent as much time in Portland as you have, and you've seen the city evolve.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
The point of this video project is to interview as many people as possible and ask them what they think the future of the United States looks like in 5 or 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's going to completely crumble.
Really?
Yeah, I think the United States is on a collapse course right now. We probably have about 20 to I'm being conservative right now, 20 to 30 years before we run out of fresh water. And that's going to that'll be the next war that we go through and stuff. Clean water is going to definitely be a thing. I just feel like, okay, like Rome, for example, when Rome was collapsing, the first major sign of Rome collapsing was the quality of food. If you look at the quality of food in the last 5 years, it's gone down so much. You can go online and read about this shit. It's all over on the internet and everything. Just like everything is just not as healthy for you. Like it's just lower quality food, and it's usually the first sign of collapse happening. Maybe we can get out of it, maybe we can't, but I don't think climate change is gonna let us have any other options. Once climate change really takes effect and like really destroys like the central part of the United States, places like this on the coast are gonna be like refugee cities. Like Portland will be a refugee city. It'll be like one of the only places in the United States where there'll be fresh water.
Wow.
And I feel like if we don't destroy ourselves, like blowing each other up in a world war, that's going to be what's going to happen. I feel like our infrastructure will probably turn towards fascism, because fascism will lead promises to people who are desperate. When people are scared, they make really bad choices, all right? So I kind of feel like that's what could possibly happen.
This is sort of related, but what do you think the biggest threat facing the United States right now is?
I think it's like political divide, to be honest. Being bipartisan has like completely fucking gone. And I feel like that's kind of because of Trump. I feel like Trump swung that pendulum so far to one side that it's swung so far to the other side. Yeah. You know, where it's like the left's just ridiculous. You're getting upset about the dumbest shit.
Right.
You didn't post something on the internet. You hate trans people or something. It's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, you're not an adult.
Right.
All right. So like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Trump was the beginning of that like political divide that started. Like Portland was always like a city where there's this city is known for protests.
Yeah.
When I moved here, it was like Portland had the record for the most protests in a year.
Right.
And I would always see like little protests and stuff like that, but it never got to the point where it was like during the Black Lives Matter movement stuff. And like it was crazy. Like I had multiple family members like calling me during that time to be like, hey, are you okay? Is your block on fire? And it's like, I like walk outside and it's like, everything's fine like it is right now.
Right.
You know, it's like this whole image of Portland's been kind of tainted since then. And like tourism's down. This city is in decline right now, okay? I think last month, over 60% of small businesses couldn't afford their rent. Like, I got friends who own businesses on Hawthorne who are like 2 months behind on rent. You know, nobody has money out here. I just went to a friend's party on Saturday, a going away party. Did murals all around Portland all year round for a living. Uh-huh. And he's like, dude, I can't live off this anymore. I have to go to LA. Wow. Because like Portland hasn't recovered from the pandemic, so.
In terms of like political division, like being the biggest threat, what do you think the best way to alleviate that, to deal with it?
Well, I feel like if you really sit down and talk to people, like not on the internet either, because people just like they're cocky little fuck faces on the internet.
Yeah.
Everyone's like a troll now. It's like cool to be a troll. Yeah. And I remember when I was like the first troll before everyone else, okay? Yeah. And it's like, bitch, I did that shit in 2007. So like, you know, but I don't know, like I feel like it has to deal with talking, like getting people out of this kind of like mentality that they've been indoctrinated in. I feel like people are fucking brainwashed right now, and it was crazy. I felt like during the pandemic, I could tell like people were just like standing in line and like ready to go, you know what I mean? Like sheep. And like, I feel like that those strings have started to pull off a little bit because the world's kind of started to return to normal a little bit. Portland, not so much than the other cities, but you know, when I go visit, for example, like I go up to Seattle all the time, okay? It's just only 2.5 hours away from Portland. I went up there for a month straight every week, and I never saw a single person with a mask on. Wow. Here in Portland, every day I see like fucking, I see people in their cars, their windows rolled up with a fucking mask on. Like, ugh, it's just like, it's frustrating. It's just like, dude, take it off. You'll be okay. Right. And actually, the study like that came out says they don't really do that much. So like, it doesn't really help that much.
Yeah,
so,
but if you say that in Portland, I feel like you'll get lynched. You know?
Yes, exactly. And that's why I'm a controversial figure, because I do really shake people's like foundations on what they base their like whole lives on, their whole identities and things like that. Wow. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm just like, I was always like, when I was a kid, I was always like, why? Yeah. Why? And people would be like, shut the fuck up. Right. Like, stop asking why. Yeah. Now as an adult, nobody can really tell me to shut up unless they punch me in the face. So.
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up, because one of the main goals in this video project that I'm doing is I'm interviewing people of varying different political backgrounds. And one of the goals that I have is to try and find common ground. Do you think that finding common political ground between parties is possible within the United States?
I mean, yes, I do, but I feel like it's going to have to take, it fucking sucks, because it's probably going to take some kind of terrible thing. I thought maybe the pandemic would do that. No. I feel like it's because Trump was still around and everything. He needs to go fucking die. He should have died. He should have been assassinated, personally. Yeah. And anybody who's like a pussy about that, like the whole Jack Black thing, like throwing his bandmate under the bus, it's like, no. If anyone deserves a fucking bullet in their fucking brain, it's our fucking ex-president for running his mouth and basically like his policies killing people, the terrible things that he did as well, and the people he's harmed. I don't think he's a good person, right, or whatever. And like, I wanted to make these shirts, but my friends say I shouldn't do it because it's too controversial. I wanted to make this bullet with a little bit of blood on it that says "an inch really matters," kind of like a reference to like, you know, dick size, because you know he always makes references to the size of his penis, and he's like, "Oh my man," you know, he's like, I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy around what just happened too, and I don't know how I really feel about it. But at the same time, I know that humans are infallible, so like, yeah, something like this could possibly happen. So like, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna take getting rid of some of these figures who like are just destructive, okay? Like, Trump isn't doing anything that's like good for us at all. He's doing it for himself and his ego and his cronies and everything else. I mean, I could just go on and on and on and on about that kind of shit. But like, you know, I don't know how I feel about Kamala either. You know, like, she's a fucking cop, and she incarcerated people with the highest, basically, oops, sorry. She incarcerated people with for marijuana charges and gave them the fucking highest amount of punishment that they could possibly get. Yeah. Like, which for weed, like, get out of here, fuck off. Right. So I don't know, like, we have a lot of work to do, and like, unfortunately, it's not going to be the left, the anarchists and stuff who are going to save us. It's got to be more people in the middle and more people who are center-minded to work together, because these people on the far extremes are too far gone. Mm-hmm. All right? It's the people in the middle that are kind of right and kind of left, maybe in the middle. Those people are going to save our country. Wow. And this is why leftists fucking hate centrists, because they see them as traitors, because they're trying to work with these other people who, like, they basically act like oh, you don't align, 99.9% with us, you're dead.
Right.
You know, that is not healthy. That is not a healthy way to live your life.
Yeah.
There's people who've wronged me in my life that are like good friends of mine, and I still love them.
Right.
And people who have wronged me that, like, I'm not friends with them, but I still love them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So people have to just grow up, and I feel like a lot of the mentality right now is very immature. It reminds me of like when I first got into politics, like in the early 2000s, being a part of the protests in North Dakota. I left right when the pipeline stuff started happening. So like I missed out on that kind of stuff. I was out here in Portland, but I did do some art for that, and I was back there when the protests were going on for that as well. So I was a part of some of the protests and things like that, but like now I'm like, I don't want to have anything to do with a lot of these people on that side, because I feel like they just want to have their way. Because like positions of power, it does not matter which side of the coin you're on. Positions of power cause greed and corruption. It just happens. Like look at Lizzo. Lizzo's supposed to be this like, beautiful woman, big black woman, whatever. And here she's got people who she's sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, it doesn't matter if you're righty-tighty or lefty-loosey. Positions of power cause corruption, unfortunately. I think it's a human thing, and that's why anarchism will never work. It will never work, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe if we were small tribes, but there's fucking how many billion, 7 billion people now? 8 billion or whatever? Yeah, no way.
Another question I asked, what role do you think social media plays in political and public discourse? Do you think it's positive, negative?
I think right now it's negative because everything's influenced by algorithms. It's not true social media. It's not the true internet. For example, if I look up in Oregon here, if I look up is climate change real, the first thing that's going to show up on my list is an article that proves that it is true. But if I go to Georgia and look up the same thing, I get a different answer. What the fuck is up with that? That's not how the internet's supposed to work, okay? Like, we're being everything that we know is manipulated by algorithms to the ways that we think, like our search engines and everything. And it's like fucked up. It's not like it's like a steady stream of like, this person posted this right now, and then this person next. And so it's like, no, this person posted this 4 days ago and they paid for it to be on the top of Instagram. So that's what you're gonna see. And you don't even follow them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, how do you start influencing a political system that's corrupt with a system that's already corrupt in itself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to be fair and balanced and make sure that it's like the right information gets out about things when it's like the internet is biased geographically where you're at,
Right.
It's really hard.
Wow.
I think it takes a special kind of person to be like politically subjective like that, and I feel like a lot of people are not ready for that at all.
Just two more questions. Do you think that the American dream is a scam?
I think it's dead. You know what I mean? Like, my parents own 3 houses, all right? I'm 43 years old and I'm paycheck to paycheck right now.
Yeah.
My parents have a house, they have 2 houses in North Dakota and 1 in Florida. And it's like no big deal.
Yeah.
The same wages that I'm being paid now, my parents were being paid, 20, 30 years ago. And that same amount of money stretched so much farther. So it's like the same things of like being able to like, if you work hard, you can achieve your goals and like live your life your way. That's not true anymore. You can work hard, you can work really hard your whole life and fucking die with nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Work 40 hours a week and be able to like pay our rent and live comfortably. That should be like a normal thing. But wages have been so stagnant for so long. Like, I'm making more money now than I've ever made in my life, and I'm still living paycheck to paycheck, So, like, once people's needs are met, there's a reason why it's set up this way. So you're too busy to think about the real big issues on like, hey, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
If I had extra time, if all of us had extra time and we had a plethora of like, like we're good to go with our food and shelter and everything else, where all of our needs are being met, we can start thinking about these other things and solving these other problems. But the way the system's made right now, they don't want us to figure out those things,
Yeah.
They don't want the average person to live a good life. They want to keep them busy enough and give them just enough to survive so that they don't revolt against them. So I don't know how I feel about the American dream. I think it's dead right now, personally. I feel like there's, the United States is too radicalized and too big for all of us to agree on something, you know what I mean? Like, because there's just so many people are so far away. Like, for example, like when I see like activists like for trans rights, I'm all for trans rights and everything. When I see them outside of a business trying to get me to sign something for the political stuff, it's like, you're not really convincing anyone here, okay? Like, where you need to go is places where people don't accept you, and you need to teach them why they should accept you.
Right.
You're not convincing anything, you're just staying within an echo chamber here in Portland, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it's like there's all these like moving structures of our society, like social media, like news sources, everything. All these things would have to change in order for all of us to change because of the way the system's created. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that there's a chance that that American dream can get revived through some?
I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think I can really answer that question because like it doesn't look great right now.
Yeah.
Personally, I personally like think how crazy this election's been. We've got fucking dementia, fucking genocide Joe, probably shits his pants every fucking 3 seconds. Not a joke, not a joke. And then fucking Trump, who's just he's like, ugh. I don't even want to talk about him. He's just disgusting. Like everything about him is gross. So it's like, and then one of them drops out, one of them gets shot. Like it's just like Jesus fucking Christ. But I personally feel like Harris is probably going to win. I don't think Trump's going to win. I thought he was going to win against Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But now that Harris, because now Trump's the old man.
Yeah.
All of his little talking points, she can just be like, let me copy those notes.
Right.
Because he's the old guy now.
Yeah.
He's the one who's like having problems or whatever,
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is the American dream dead? I feel like it's dead right now, personally. You know what I mean? Like, at least here in Portland, Oregon. Like, it's always been hard to make money in this city and stuff, and it's even harder now. Like I said, I have a lot of friends out here who are just struggling right now, real hard.
Yeah.
Just because there's no money in the city.
One final question that I ask everybody is, do you have like a certain thing that is the most important thing in your life? It doesn't have to be political, idea, practice.
What's the most important thing in my life?
Yeah.
I guess the most important thing to me is just staying true to myself, always bettering myself. Like I said, like, I don't feel like I'm morally better than anyone else but my former self. So as long as I'm better than my former self, I'm okay. My intentions are good. As long as you have good intentions and things like that, I feel like that's the most important thing. And when I first moved to Portland here, that was the only thing people fucking cared about was your intentions. Now it's like all this other shit. It's like, oh, you said the word retard 20 years ago, you're canceled or whatever, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. I feel like it's just childish and like I feel like a lot of it's like this weird Gen Z thing. Like I do not like Gen Z. I think they're fucking stupid. Sorry. Like Gen Z, we're doomed if they're gonna run our planet. Like we're doomed. And I'm sure my parents would say the same thing about like my generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's like a generational thing. It's like when you get older, you grow up and you get a little bit wiser and stuff, and you're like, man, we're fucked. Like, I'm sure my parents said the same thing about my generation. growing up and everything, you know, going to raves and doing all these like crazy things that happened September 11th and like all these other major catastrophes that happened in my lifetime.
Right.
So,
Awesome. Well, any last words, final thoughts?
no, I don't really. Yeah, I think I kind of covered what I'd want to cover, I guess, you know, unless there's something else you want me to talk about.
No, I think that's all the questions I had.